And we're back. Episode 5 of the Nosebleeds Podcast, coming from you live from Melville, New York. I'm your host, Stash Kowalski. With me always is my co-host, Tyler Stumpo, and we've got a loaded show for you. The playoffs are in full swing. We're going to talk about some sports memorabilia, and we're also going to simulate our top 10 drafts for both the NBA and NHL. But first, Ty, how you been?
I'm a little tired. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't. Stayed up a little too late watching the Utah-Memphis game last night.
That's
Um,
I
how
was
about
also
how
up
about
late.
you?
Well, I was
Yeah.
also up late, but for a different reason. Last night I went on my Xbox and I looked in my game library because I'm like, oh, I want to download a different game. I'm kind of done with, playing Call of Duty and NHL every night. So I looked in my game library and I had the brand new MLB video game that just came out, MLB The Show. And I'm like, is this the full game? Because I don't remember ever paying for the game. So I go to install it, and the internet at the house is kind of booty cheeks in a sense. So I didn't expect for it to download within an hour, but it was cruising. So I downloaded it, and then, long story short, I'm up till 4 a.m. playing MLB, and now I'm here 8 a.m. the next day.
What game mode were you in?
Oh, I was playing Diamond Dynasty. I was building that team. I don't my team name. I don't know if I can include this, but I named it the Pound Town Glory Holes. uh, so so that was the team name I came up with, because MLB I don't really play, so I don't really care what my name is. If it was any other game, I would really care what my name is, but I thought it was pretty funny to name my team name that. But as we get into the episode here, we're going to kick it off with our playoffs recap. We're going to talk about, yeah, we'll edit that out. But for the episode, we're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to get into first-round matchups. NHL's heading into the second round. NBA's just getting underway. We also are going to talk about our tankathon simulations for the drafts, for the NBA draft lottery and the NHL. We will talk about some of our favorite sports memorabilia that we own. I have a pretty good story to tell that happened to me in the last week or so. And then we'll hit you with our Paradise Picks. And as always, our new sponsor today, Vivid Seats. Make sure you use code NOSEBLEED, NOSEBLEED10. Code NOSEBLEED10 at checkout for $10 off any order of $100 or more. And we're going to hop right into the episode, so we'll catch you later. So our first segment today, we're going to take it into the playoffs as they're in full swing for the NHL and NBA alike. Tyler, big NBA guy, me, big hockey guy. We're going to give our both opinions on, both sides of the stories, the biggest headlines. And Ty, if you want to kick it off, what do you see out of this first round here early, out of the Clips, out of the Mavs, Lakers, LeBron, anything?
So that Clippers-Mavericks series is very interesting to me. The Clippers intentionally tanked the last few games of the year in order to get that number 4 seed, so they did not have to match up with the Lakers until the Western Conference Finals. Not really turning out that way, the way that they planned, seeing as Luka is dropping a consistent 38-8 right on their dome pieces every night. It just it doesn't make sense. Like, Luka did this exact same thing last year in the playoffs when they met up with the Clippers, and the Clippers are sitting there like, you know what? Yeah, let's get the guy that's going to drop 38-8 on our heads every single night. Let's get him in the playoffs again. Like, not a great move, Doc.
The thing I saw the other night, I think it was after game 2, was, or maybe it was game 1 even, it was a picture of Dirk in the crowd, standing up,
yep.
and
Yep.
Luka was, they were kind of in line with each other, and I'm like, that picture's just cold. I mean,
Oh yeah, I thought about making that my Twitter header.
Yeah, the dude Dirk being a legend for all those years in Dallas. Now Luka looks like he's painting his own path, to kind of be the same superstar that Dirk was. And that was just one thing I wanted to throw in there was, I mean, that's like what kind of sports are, made about and made for.
Oh yeah,
but that was great to see.
That it was electric. Luka is definitely like, hey, don't quote me on it, but listen, if the Mavericks can steal another one at home, we might see the Clippers get swept. We very well could see the Clippers get swept in the first round.
I mean, I saw the favorites. I mean, obviously they lost game 1, and then they were favorites again home teams usually favorites unless the Nets. You're the Nets playing, Boston on the road. The Nets are the powerhouse in the playoffs right now, and it's going to take an absolute miracle for any team to really beat the big three. However, but the Clippers are kind of stunning everybody with their mediocre performance, and they're letting this one dude, torch him every night. And if the Clippers do go down 3-0, I think we're going to see it almost like, Edmonton and Winnipeg over on the NHL side. I think we're going to see, our first sweep of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, which will absolutely be insane. Another playoff that I do want to take a look at, the East is honestly a cakewalk for the top three. You're going to see a sweep for all three of those teams. Philly's going to sweep Washington.
Yep.
New York's going to sweep Boston. Or not New York. Brooklyn's going to sweep Boston. And you're going to see the Bucks sweep Miami. Unfortunately, I thought Miami would really match up nicely with them this year, especially given last year, their little playoff run. But that Milwaukee team, I think, has the potential to beat the Brooklyn Nets. All right. They have a solid big three that can contribute like majorly on both sides of the ball. Like Drew Holiday is matching up with Kyrie. He's going to lock Kyrie down.
Mm-hmm.
You have Chris Middleton, who's going to match up with James Harden. He can easily lock James Harden down. And Giannis is the only person in the world that's going to be able to block Kevin Durant's jumpers or do anything against KD. So that's going to be next round. I cannot wait for that. Like, I don't know what to expect, but it is going to be an electric series, to say the least.
Especially at with the Nets at home, and then the Bucks. The fans are now being allowed back into arenas now, kind of at full capacity, and you saw
what it feels like,
you saw the differences last night in the Knicks comeback. I don't know if you caught a lot of that game, but they were down 14, 15, 13 at half. And I mean they came storming back in the late minutes of the third, and then into the fourth quarter they just kept it going. They built up that 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Quickly was evaporated. It had me on the edge of my seat, not gonna lie to you. However, they were able to close it out and tie that series up, which I think was absolutely, huge for the Knicks. Because if they go down 0-2 on the road, it's going to be a nightmare series, and Trae Young's going to be
demoralizing.
Trae Young's going to be in the heads of Knicks fans everywhere.
Yeah, I honestly cannot remember a time I've been pulling harder for a New York team. I feel like I've just always kind of disliked kind of New York teams growing up and everything, but I am pulling so hard for the New York Knicks right now. I want them to beat the Hawks. The Garden is so electric. I love it.
It's great. It's just they weren't supposed to be in the playoffs by any means necessary. No. This team wasn't supposed to do anything this year. Now they're in the playoffs. COVID regulations getting lifted. The world's kind of forming back into its old ways, and it's great to see all the fan interactions. The chants last night. Trae is balding. I remember seeing one clip of him inbounding the ball. I think it was with a minute left, and he was just smiling. That's all you can do. You're down. I think they were down 9. Game was about over, and the fans were still letting him have it. And that's just the beauty of that fan athlete interaction. It's just something you can't ever beat or
replace. You can't
copy or replace. It's just something that's too original to ever take away.
It's raw, it's right there. You have players pumped full of adrenaline, fans pumped full of adrenaline watching this game. Who knows what might slip the tongue.
Well, we do know what slipped the tongue with Russell Westbrook over there on Washington. If you wanna let us know what happened there, because I know this is the second or third interaction with Westbrook where a fan has kind of stepped over the line, and I think it's got to be. It almost looks like it's just focused on Westbrook, in my opinion, because the first incident that I remember ever happening was that Golden State fan, 3 rows deep. I think it was Golden State, and it was an older dude, and he gave him the double bird, and I remember Westbrook, his face was I'm gonna throw up a side by side. I did that. That was exactly his face.
Remember that face.
And then the other night, Westbrook gets hurt, leaves the game, goes back to the locker room, and he gets popcorn dumped on him. So, I don't know if you want to hit
that's
on that.
Inexcusable. It's inexcusable by the fans. And you gotta you can't just have that at the games. Like there was another incident where Westbrook, I think it was when he was, it might have been last year in the playoffs. They were playing the Utah Jazz when he was on the Rockets, and something happened, but one of the fans was being disrespectful towards him, and like he went up and like was ready to have an altercation with the fan, like
Yeah.
like these people don't realize that like these athletes are just like you and I, bro. Like they
Yeah,
wake
I
up,
mean,
breathe the same air, go to the bathroom on the same toilet as us, like
they
like
make a lot
all of it.
more
Like
money than we do. I'm gonna throw that out there, but
yeah, no, absolutely. They bleed the same, breathe the same as us, which is like something you got to realize. Like this is just their job, Like, how would you feel if people just barged into that studio right there and just started
yeah, and
flipping you
started
the bird, throwing popcorn on
throwing
you?
the table around, throwing all this nice stuff around here. These nice cards. We'll talk
You
about that
know?
later, but yeah, I get it. It's just. It's inexcusable, like the fan interactions. Like I remember, like the Malice at the Palace. If we want to touch on that real quick, I mean that was the over the line worst fan, interaction ever with anything.
Yeah.
I mean a whole brawl in the
Greatest,
crowd.
though.
Oh yeah, I mean I'll
love it.
rewatch it
It
every
was
day. And I'll
amazing. Yeah.
throw some music over it and dub it. But
Going forward, we have a caller coming in.
we have a caller coming
Wow,
in.
that's a first. This is news to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also news to me. It is okay. We're not ready yet, so we'll just keep it rolling, but we'll get to that caller soon. So let's hit. I'm gonna go back to the Knicks. Real quick last night because Reggie Bullock, Derrick Rose, two former Pistons, recent former Pistons. I mean, they stepped up last night. Bullock in the second half, 3 or 4 threes. I mean, was killing Atlanta's, demoralizing their moral. And then D Rose was just stepping up, orchestrating that offense like he used to back in the Chicago days. But to see, two former players that I used to watch on Detroit now step up and, go from a more mediocre franchise, I think second best draft lottery odds for Detroit this year, to going to carrying a team to possibly, an NBA championship. It's great to see. So I know everybody pulls for D Rose, especially after all of his injuries. He's had a historic career, when it comes to the lights and the flashes. But I was wondering your thoughts on that. To see former players thrive on their new teams when previously they were on, teams at the bottom of the league, the top, the bottom 5-4. 3-2 or even dead last, they change teams, and it's a change of scenery, and now they're just stepping their game up, and it's great to see, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm on both sides of the fence here. So like when it comes to people like Derrick Rose, Reggie Bullock, who else is out there? Luke Kennard, like people that gave their all when they were in the Pistons uniform. Like I love that. I love to see that. If you don't like Derrick Rose, you're wrong. Like simple as that. You are wrong. Go check your pulse. Go do something to like make sure that you are actually alive still. Because if you don't like Derrick Rose, just stop talking to me. I'm done taking your word for anything.
He's a wholehearted guy. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason I say I'm on both sides of the fence is because then you have guys like Blake Griffin, who record 0 dunks like halfway through. Like, I know I don't want to be stuck on this topic. Like, oh, Blake Griffin, he's not trying on the Pistons. First game on the Nets, throws a dunk down. It's a little irritating though, bro. Like, like help our young bulls, help them develop, make them better. Like acting like you aren't a dunk champion, a veteran, certified veteran in the league. Like you were an all NBA player on our team like 2 years ago, bro, and you're gonna tell me you can't throw one dunk down with us?
Well, that's like another topic.
Like I understand.
I know, like it frustrates you as a fan, and as a viewer, it's probably better for other franchises. But the idea of super teams in the NBA, I think, is the worst out of all 4 major sports. I mean, the fact like Kyrie, Harden, Durant, Blake Griffin, you've got like 4 all NBA guys in their prime.
Yeah.
You only 5 guys are on the court. You're playing an all-star team at that point every night. It's almost impossible to beat. Yeah. And you can understand, like, Curry won the scoring title this year by himself. Like, that team got bounced. Yeah, got bounced by the Grizzlies and John Morant in the play-ins. Now their season's over. But you can't beat when a team is getting beat by 35 to 40 points in the playoffs. You said the Nets and Bucks, they have a good chance of that having a good series, but the idea of people being able to go wherever they want, like Blake Griffin, like you said, not trying on the Pistons. And then I saw the video the other day. I'll throw it up. He threw a behind the back.
Yes, left-handed.
The behind the back pass behind his head. And then it was an off the glass dunk. And I'm like, I haven't seen that since the Harlem Globetrotters were at the Palace in 2004.
Yeah.
You know, like what's it take for other teams to I know it's market and I know it's revenue. Brooklyn being a big place, almost like how Golden State was when they went 73-9 or whatever the record was. It's all about the market and it's all about, you know, the revenue, and which sucks, you know, for smaller towns, but especially a place like Hockey Town. You know, they have that name.
Yeah.
They have Hockey Town as their name as Detroit, and I see other people trying to, you know, when teams are better, take the name away, like Tampa. Tampa's been on a hot streak for the last 7 years in the league. They're like, oh, Tampa Bay's Hockey Town. There's no ice in Florida, regardless. Yeah, like you can't just take a trademark name and rebrand it as your own. Yeah. Like I just, if you want to hit anything.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna touch on the West playoffs as well. Going into like over to Portland and Denver. That's gonna be a dogfight. I can see that one going 7. As same with the Knicks and Hawks. Their series, I can see both of those series going 7. I think they'll be the 2 most competitive ones. Lakers in 5 ? How are we feeling about that? It doesn't matter. CP3, C3PO. It doesn't matter. Lakers in 5. I'm saying LeBron is in a mode.
I know there was something I went on Twitter the other night, and it was pretty funny. I think it was the first night of the playoffs, and Paul George was trending with the hashtag pandemic P or something. And I was like, well, that's great. When you get your name associated with, you know, the pandemic, that's probably not the best thing for your reputation.
So what made that trending even better is like he was like trending #1 on my Twitter, and it was the first half of the first game of the first round of the playoffs, and your name is trending for doing so bad.
Yeah, no, that's awful. But Paul George, I feel like, has been taking heat for years for being less than stellar. Not even in the playoffs, but in the regular season. Like, he used to be clutch, like a superstar player, kind of like a household name, like maybe not as big as Curry as LeBron, but he used to, you know, knock down his shots and, you know, keep his team in it. But now I think he's just more of, not a cancer you would use as the term, but he's making his way up there, and I think his career's kind of coming down to an end at this point.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens this offseason, especially with Kawhi coming into a contract year. He has a player option this year. If you get swept in the first round by the Dallas Mavericks, if I'm Kawhi, I think I'm leaving that team. Like, you've tried 2 years. You tried to build this team around us and everything, and it's just not working. Maybe you do opt in if you're Kawhi, run it back 1 more year, but I'm not sure. Paul George has, like, it's just when the playoffs come around, he doesn't perform to his expectations or like what we expect from him.
It's almost like Toronto
season. Like, we can't forget that this man 3 years ago, I'm drawing a blank on when it was, but when he was on OKC, he was top 5 in MVP voting, like had one of his best years since he broke his leg. So like he definitely has like that potential to take it to that next level, but it just depends on when he does that. Like, can he do that in the playoffs when it matters is the main question.
And that's one of the topics that I wanted to hit on in the NHL side is when you say hammer it in the playoffs, McDavid, Draisaitl, Oilers, swept.
Now, golden opportunity. Kyle Connor shoots and he scores! Kyle Connor!
Choke fest.
Absolutely swept out of the building, swept off home ice. Winnipeg Jets, I don't know if they're for real, and I don't know if they're going to be able to handle. Most likely Toronto. Hopefully Toronto doesn't choke there in the second round. Hopefully they close it out tonight against Montreal. But McDavid and Draisaitl were 1 and 2 in scoring this year, I believe. If you know, I look at my stat sheet here, I believe they were 1 and 2 in scoring this year in the regular season. McDavid over 100 points in 52 games. Unheard of. The dude was on an absolute tear when it came to scoring goals and assists. But when it came to the playoffs, the Jets collectively as a unit, all 4 lines with Hellebuck and net,
dominated.
Shut them down. Absolutely shut them down.
Dominated.
So,
I was watching that series, dude, and it was insane. It was like the time of possession was just so different, like in the last few games. Like Winnipeg just dominated on all aspects. Like overtime, regular time, like Winnipeg was just running the clock, everything.
I mean, that game 4 that went into triple overtime had to be, I mean, McDavid was out of gas. Draisaitl was taking every shot he could to try and get pucks on net. And Nurse was over 55 minutes of ice time. I mean,
wasn't it a back-to-back too?
I think it was back-to-back.
Yeah, like
I might not be certain on that.
Winded.
Can you check if the last 2 games in the Edmonton-Winnipeg series were on back-to-back nights?
I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah, the grueling to be a star like McDavid is, especially in not a less popular league, but probably the lowest on the totem pole for the 4 major sports. McDavid's name, I mean, Stephen A. Smith even did a segment. I don't know if you caught that. Stephen A. did a segment. He's like, he was doing one of his like signature segments, and it was all about hockey. And that dude doesn't, know hockey. He's all about basketball, football. And he was like, McDavid, Draisaitl, how could you? And it's just he was talking about like point. I was even talking about it with a couple of my other buddies that point production in the regular season doesn't matter because when you come to the playoffs, just like Paul George, if you don't perform, you're not going to get the results you want. Mike Smith played his heart out.
You know what? I couldn't find it online.
Oh, thanks.
Tony's here, and he might know. He's about to tune right in.
Oh, Tony's here?
Yep, so he can probably answer that.
Is Tony on the phone or is Tony calling in via Skype? It's the real question. Okay, no problem. Yeah, but Ty, that to see McDavid and Draisaitl get swept, it's almost like you can't put them on the level of the Blues getting dominated, but the Blues got dominated by the Avs.
Yeah,
100%.
I did just look it up. They were on back-to-backs, and they were both overtime games.
Yeah, I mean, that's just grueling on the legs.
Wasn't overtime. Yeah, and then you go back-to-back 60 minutes plus another 60 minutes.
Because, yeah, I remember McDavid was double shifting, like, early in the third. So, I mean, he's getting those legs pumping. Those quads are burning at that point. And you're trying to do everything to keep your team in the game. Already down 3-0, but it's got to be so hard at that point. You got to win 4 straight games off of, your goalie standing on his head, but just not getting the especially the one that ended the series. That was just a tough, turnover, bad chip by McDavid,
so
and
bad.
Connor made him pay.
He just... Smith, when that dropped in and Smith just dropped down, put his head in the ice.
Yeah, I mean, he played his ass off game 4. But the goalies who didn't play his ass off, Tristan Jarry last night for the Islanders Penguins.
Last 2 games of the series.
Oh, my
last
Lord.
2 games of the series.
That dude got picked apart. I think it was 2-1 Pittsburgh, and then the Islanders tied it up and then never looked back. I mean, Jarry led in some absolute softies last night, and if I was Pittsburgh, I'm giving him the paddle in the locker room because, I mean, he played awful that series. And I think he cost Pittsburgh the series because I think Pittsburgh should have obviously won that series. But the Coliseum last night, as well as Madison Square Garden, downtown New York, had to be absolutely blown up. Long Island, bonkers, yeah. I know one of our buddies, a couple of our buddies went to Nassau last night to watch the Islanders, close out the Penguins, and they had their Snapchat stories and Instagram stories, and it was loud, to say the least.
Yeah.
So
I know you saw the videos of after the Knicks won and they were outside the Garden, everyone just dancing.
Yeah, they mob each other, man. It's great.
I love
it. It's great for sports markets. It's great for towns. It's just great for the nation to see, all of the stuff back in action. Do we have Tony on the line? If Tony wants to fill in here, if he's ready to go.
You with me?
Okay.
Got me
there
there
he is.
we are. Hey, how's it going?
I can't hear him, Joe.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Is my mic working?
Yes, I can hear you, Tony. How are you?
Hello. Oh, cool. Hey.
It's okay.
Yep. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. You got
Tony,
it?
is
Do
that
you
a
hear me
huge
now?
sound? Yeah, is that a huge soundboard behind you?
It's a TriCaster. I do a lot of virtual shows.
Oh, okay.
So I just got done recording a virtual program.
Oh.
So
Well, that's
Yep.
that's pretty early.
Yeah.
That's a little early today. You get up this time every day and get to work, or you
yeah,
got a pretty flexible
yeah,
schedule?
Yep. It changes by the demand. That's
So
really,
So for people who don't know, Tony works here in the studio. Tony, if you want to just introduce yourself and give us a little bit about you, what you do here, and then we'll
Yeah.
take it from there.
So yep. My name is Tony Liuzzi. So I take care of all the directing for Donna Drake's show, and I guess I've been doing it for like 20 years almost. I don't know. So and I do a lot of live directing for a lot of different genres. I've worked over at the Coliseum for many years.
Well, we
actually.
were just I don't know if you heard that. We were just talking about the Islanders. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you
I
caught
watched
it.
the game last night.
Yeah, absolute beauty for them to close out Pittsburgh.
Yeah, my hockey background, I actually coach the coaches for USA Hockey.
Oh, okay.
That's amazing.
The goalie component. So I'm the evangelist to try to help young goalies and coaches sort of mesh together and try to develop them properly.
So you're
there's been a lack of development. There's been a lack of development from the head coaches. There's plenty of great goalie coaches out there, but without the coaches helping us out, we can't develop these kids and keep these kids in the game.
So are you talking, when you say develop, and you're saying from goalies to coaches, are you talking about the relationship between like goalie to coach, like player to coach, like how the coach can not really have a better open relationship, but say somebody has, a bad attitude towards something, he lets in, say a goalie lets in 5 goals, he tells his coach to, gives him one of these, and you're talking about being able to make a player coachable, more or less.
It's really the coaches making adjustments to goalies because of the fact that many years, and I was a goalie myself, we were on an island because coaches didn't understand the position. They didn't understand the mental process that's involved as being a goalie in a game. Barry Trotz, obviously the way he talks, he understands, he knows exactly how to model himself to get the best out of obviously every player. And that's what we want from coaches in the youth level. We want them to model themselves as a good role model. And so that they can help these kids when they do have a bad game, because everybody will. Every player out there, unfortunately, as a goalie, we know that obviously when we make a mistake, but if they learn to help the kids flush that goal, that mistake, whatever it may be, like what Jari did the other night where he passed the puck, and he gave it away. Obviously, he overplayed it. I could tell when I saw the reverse angle from behind the net. I knew what he was trying to do, but it's almost like overswinging in baseball.
Yeah.
It's exactly what he did. He tried to overshoot the center of the ice and he didn't do it. And I'm a big fan of Live to Die Another Day.
Yeah.
It's Enzo uses that all the time on the NBC broadcast. You have to live to die another day, and maybe that wasn't the best play for him to go right up the middle at that point, but he did.
I mean, we were talking about Jari because Jari did have a very poor series when it came to handling the Islanders. But I believe as a goalie, being able to have that dynamic of playing the puck behind the net. I mean, Alex Nedeljkovic out in Carolina and Mike Smith out in Edmonton. I mean, 2 of the best puck handling netminders in the league. I mean, being able to take a dump in, rimming around the boards, it's almost like a turnover, right off the bat. Sometimes you take a bad bounce off the stanchion, But other than that,
Yeah.
if you as a goalie have that aspect in being able to play the puck and clear it out of the zone, especially say on a penalty kill, Mike Smith does a lot on the penalty kill where he stops it, wraps it, and just brings it down to the zone. And I believe, like you said, that's what Jari was, trying to do, get the puck out.
Yeah.
But obviously Josh Bailey was there.
He was
for
he was
the cleanup.
actually trying to make a pass up ice. He had somebody. You couldn't really see it from that angle, but he had somebody crossing, probably right across the red line, and he was going to try to feed them for a break. And it happens. Listen, 9 out of 10 times that doesn't happen. It was bad timing and bad luck a little bit, and a little bit of poor judgment maybe. But he started out okay last night. And then they knew, I've never seen a flaw in a goalie that was like, wow. And I hadn't seen a lot of Jari throughout the regular season. So when I saw that he was giving the goals away over his glove hand, it was just going to be a real tough series.
That's how game one was. Game one for Jari. I think the first 2 goals were just right next to his ear.
Yeah.
I mean, he just blatantly missed it. No screen or anything.
And you know what? If it's next year, that's one thing. But it actually was. He carries his glove right here.
Yeah.
It went over. It went right over the webbing. I'm not really sure. I don't know enough about him. And going back to playing the puck and youth hockey, we have it's called a mite level. They're like 6 years old. And one of the things I endorsed and had the local youth hockey organization that I worked with actually have the young goalies set up a drill where they actually can play the puck. Because at the youngest level, you don't want to wait till 10 years old to start playing the puck. Let them do it at 5. It's what we call a rough look.
Yeah.
But man, when they get to 10 and 12, they develop confidence. They get a chance to make those mistakes in practice, which I'm a big fan of. You want to make those mistakes. I've always told kids, try things in practice and see if it works. And if you make the mistake, don't worry. That's what practice is for, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to touch on with you calling in here was, I don't know if you caught the Minnesota Wild in the Vegas Game 5 the other night, but it was a duel between, Minnesota facing elimination on the road and Vegas absolutely peppering Cam Talbot with shots. And at the end of the day, Minnesota ended up winning the game 4-2 with 13 shots on net. And then Vegas ended up losing on the other side, 2-4, I think around 59 to 60 shots on net. So I want to know if you can give us a little insight to, as a goalie, when you have one goalie on one side make 60 saves, gets the loss, or gets the win. He makes 60 saves, gets the win, but the other goalie lets in 4 goals on 13. Just like you said, it's a very hard position to deal with mentally, especially when you usually face around 23 to 27 shots a game as a goalie. But when you face such a low number and your save percentage is running around 687 for a game, I just want to know how would you deal with, maybe talking to a goalie about how to process a game like that where you almost let in more goals than, you had saves.
Well, you'll look at the 4 goals. You'll look at every one of them to see what you can dissect what happened, because was there a screen, on possibly on them? Because let's face it, I mean, I'm always a big fan, when a game is 2-1, you're 3-1 going into the third period, the adage is it only takes one shot to get, yourself back in the game, and getting pucks on net is what it's all about. And, getting only 13, it is hard for a goalie when you don't get that regular work, as we call it. So what he went through mentally, these guys are so good mentally in the NHL. He'll look at the video and just move on. I mean, that's how good they are. They don't carry it into the next game.
I think that performance
listen, you know what? If I can jump in for a second.
Yeah, you're good.
Fans will carry it into the next game.
Yeah. Yeah,
NHL
100%.
goalies and the players themselves, they don't carry it into the next game.
Yeah,
That is being a pro. You
like,
flush it, and you tie your skates on to get ready for the next one.
on the other
I
side
feel like
of
that
things.
goes with any sport.
No, keep going.
I was
Tyler.
just gonna say that
Absolutely.
that goes with any sport. You have to have a short-term memory in order to keep moving forward in the sport. You can't dwell on everything. So you go 0 for 3 at the plate in baseball. You can't dwell on that game.
Exactly. And the pros know, there's a lot of mental coaching that they get that is available to them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you have
so
every aspect
they get a lot of help, which unfortunately, obviously, at the younger level, they have to physically pay out of pocket for like mental coaches to help them along. So, but go ahead. What were you going to say about? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
You're good. But with Talbot, Fleury led in the 4 on 13, but Talbot had an absolute flurry of saves, led in 2 goals, and then they end up winning last night on the road. Or no, they're at home. They won on home ice, but they win 2-0. They shut out
3.
Vegas. 3? Was it 3?
3.
Yeah, it was.
3. I turned it off. I turned it off after know what. But Talbot, I think that performance from Talbot Game 5 gave Minnesota the life to kind of keep this and force a Game 7. But I do believe if the Wild do end up winning Game 7, I think the Avalanche are going to steamroll them, because I don't think anybody's going to beat the Avalanche in these playoffs. They have an absolute loaded lineup. But I want to know.
There's no doubt about when a goalie comes up with 59 saves, sort of like what Sorokin did for the Islanders. If you think about the game they won in overtime with the Jarry mistake, they did not put Sorokin as number 1. They gave Bailey the number 1 star.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have given Bailey the number 1 star, because if Sorokin didn't do what he did in that game, they would have never have gotten to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
They had no right. They had no, and if you ask, I bet you if you ask the Islanders coach that outside of the press, he would probably admit it too. We had no right being in that overtime if it wasn't for Sorokin, if he hadn't said it already. I mean, that's what you hope that happens. And that's what they got from obviously that 59 save performance, and it does transcend. It almost juices a team into another stage of playoff capability.
Yeah, I mean, goalies on their own, it's one position. They can steal a game without help from anybody. They could be on the penalty kill, on a 5-on-0, even though it's not possible, and steal the game.
Especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Especially in the playoffs.
Especially with the crowd last night at the the crowd at the Garden, the crowd at the Coliseum.
Listen, there is no better arena in the National Hockey League than Nassau Coliseum. As far as noise.
That's a big claim right there.
Listen. I've been to the United Center in Chicago for Chicago, Los Angeles in the playoffs.
Oh, that place had to be crazy.
19,000 they get there, something like that. But it's the shape and the construction of that arena. You're on top of the players. I've even played on that rink. I've been on that rink. I've coached on that rink for youth hockey. And I've been cameraman on the ice when the Islanders were on a roll, and it is just crazy.
I think that's what Donna had mentioned before as one of the things you have, to your name, is that you have been able to do that. And I mean, that's just got to be, one hell of an experience. Not only to be in the building. I wish I had the
video I could pull up. One of the things I did for the Islanders back in the day, I actually, do you remember Trent Hunter for the Islanders? He used to always come on last. When on the player entrance. Anyway, they asked me, we actually taped a camera back in the day before GoPro. Sony had a camera. We taped it to a helmet, and I actually skated on the ice with the Islanders.
Oh, that's cool.
During the opening, before the puck drop, because we wanted to get some footage of, they didn't want to use a player, so they asked me, since I had skating background, and I jumped on the ice with them.
Yeah, that's
It
gotta be
was
great
wild.
B-roll shots.
Yeah.
It was wild. So I know what it's like. I know what the fans do for the players. When they say how much the fans are the seventh man for the Islanders, they really mean it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
they really that's not a cliche that they just come up with just for a soundbite. No, they mean it. And Trotz means it when he says we need you fans as part of our squad tonight.
yeah.
He knows. I mean, he's coaching the fans, you guys. Do you get that? He's actually in the middle of the day sending out information. He's coaching 7 players.
Mm-hmm.
What coach does that? No one's
up.
better than Barry Trotz. No one's better than Barry Trotz as far as that goes. Yeah.
I love Barry. Honestly, a big Nashville guy. So I grew up watching Barry coach like Pecorine, all them. Nashville.
Think of what he's done to the transformation, him and Lou Lamoriello, what they've done to transform that organization. They struggled with leads over the time I was there working day in and day out. At times, they struggled with leads. The struggle of defensively was really rough, and he brought a structure in that obviously has worked right from Nashville and through his minor league coaching.
Yeah, I mean it's just great to see.
I can't say enough about him.
Playoff sports in full swing, but I think we're gonna wrap it up here for this segment. Quick question: whose dog is in the background whining?
Oh, that's my dog Ginger. Ginger.
Let's see Ginger here.
Yep. There she is.
Oh, look at that.
Yep. There she is. Yep.
She's like, I need a nap.
That's all she wanted.
She wants to go outside. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well,
you
go take her outside, Tony. Take Ginger outside. Thank you for joining us and giving us your insight.
Sure.
We're going to wrap up our playoff segment here for first, I'm assuming, long segment. I'm not sure on the timestamp here. But we would like to thank our sponsor, Vivid Seats, as always, for sponsoring this episode. Use code Nosebleed10 at checkout for $10 off your purchase of $100 or more. Next, we're going to hit you with a little bit of memorabilia and sports trading cards. Stay tuned.
Looking to go to your next sporting event? Please use Vivid Seats. And when you go to check out, please use Nosebleed 10 to get $10 off of $100.
Okay, you want to yeah, okay. I don't know if that was almost perfect in its own if we can only hear me and Tyler. I think we should just keep that because that was pretty good.
That again.
Well, I was just moving my mouth.
Honestly.
No, that was good. We'll keep it there for the end of the first one. But how long are we at for this episode, Joe? If you can give me.
It's a pretty long episode.
Yeah. Holy shit! All right.
Are we already at like 45 minutes or something?
Oh my Christ!
There's a lot that you could chop out. There's a lot.
Do I have time to go pee?
All right, and we're back. But after a long discussion with our producers, we're kind of running at about 46 minutes currently. So we're gonna hit you with our Paradise picks real quick for today. Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
It's Thursday. Is it Thursday?
Thursday. Today's Thursday.
Okay, Thursday,
Yes, for sure,
May
Thursday.
27th, and then we'll catch you back for the show close. We hope you take our Paradise picks for today, and we hope you enjoyed episode 5 of the Nosebleeds podcast. We would like to thank Tony Liuzzi for joining us on the show today, dropping us some knowledge on the coaching aspect of goalies in the NHL and youth level. Ty, playoffs, second round, any last thoughts before we go to close?
Yes, I have 2 last thoughts. One, go Preds, baby. We're vibing. Force
Okay.
Game 7 tonight.
Okay,
we need
Force
big
Game
game
7.
out of juice.
I like that.
Number 2, First playoff game with home fans in Portland, and I don't even know how long, probably like 2 years. It's Dame time, baby. Dame
Dame got
Portland
to
money
step
line.
up. You got Portland tonight?
Yes, that's one of my paradise picks, baby. You'll see it.
All
You'll
right,
see
all
it.
right,
Money
all
line
right.
Portland.
We'll have it up. We'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It means the absolute world to us. We would like to thank our sponsor, Vivid Seats. Make sure you use code NOSEBLEED10 at checkout for $10 off your orders of $100 or more if you're looking to go to your next sporting event and or concert. Like I said, the states are starting to open up again and life's starting to get back to normal. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Nosebleeds Podcast.